I was introduced to real reading by being caught with a big, big picture book, hard-covered picture book, hiding a comic book in the library. We had library periods in my day when I was at school. And a teacher came by, the librarian, and she went by a few times, and every time she went by, I just kind of turned the page, not knowing that it thumps the wrong way if you do that with a comic book in the midst. And finally she came over, and she said, "Sonny," because that was what they called me, my English name, "Sonny, I want that." And she took this comic book away, and then she gave me another book, and she said, "I want you to read this." I opened it up, the pages flipped open, and there was no pictures except a few, but there was one picture that startled me. It was a dog with big saucer eyes, and I began reading it, and it was called The Tinderbox, and it was by Hans Christian Andersen. And before I knew it, the pictures were not on the page. They were deeply a part of me. And I was concerned about that box, and I was concerned about that soldier, and I forgot that I was reading. The narrative voice took over, and I wanted to read the next story. And eventually I finished that book after a few periods, and the teacher bought me another book because I didn't know what to do. What do you do after you finish a book? Just get another picture book? And she gave me Grimm's Fairy Tales. Not the original edition, but one that was filled with immediate narrative stories. And these were, of course, fit for children because in most cases, things went well and happily at the end, and the good were clearly rewarded. Now, that made the world seem very nice and stable in a way, because then one only had to be good to be rewarded. I had no moral compass, because it's not a moral compass when someone says, if you're good, you get rewarded, because that's like bribing you. And in life, as you know, it's filled with paradoxes. And the good, well, Oscar Wilde said it, you know, be careful, you will be punished for your good deeds. And in a way, that's just as true, but I wouldn't have known that. When you have a moral compass, what happens is, you figure out that there's good and bad. And the moral compass suggests to you, here is the good direction. And the circumstances says you should today look and see and understand and explore and challenge yourself to look at life this way, because there you will see what is good, even in the most unhappy circumstances. It wasn't until I was in grade school when I was given a book with more complexity. And it was Beautiful Joe, the story about a dog who was beaten and abused and rescued by a good family and taken it home, and he was so ugly and torn up that they named him Beautiful Joe and loved him. And he told the story. And I can remember I actually started to cry when I knew the book was going to end, because Beautiful Joe was getting old. And I mean, you know, it's just horrific to lose a dog you love for 200 pages. And yet, at the same time, it set my moral compass in a place where ambiguity and paradox and hope exists even when one may not be here.